Hello. Okay, so in this video, I'm going to talk to you how to make animations in Scratch. For this particular example, we're gonna see how to make a catwalk. But anyway, so just like how we do in any program, let's begin. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a new program. Okay, so we're gonna create a new program, and basically what's gonna happen is, yeah, we might as well title this thing. We can call it something. Let's call it catwalking. Let's call it catwalking. If you haven't been sharing your projects, go ahead and just do that, just in case, like, well, maybe you're just gonna forget every time to share the project. So maybe a good practice just do that. Okay. So earlier, one of the things we mentioned in the first video was position. So position basically says, so like, again, think of this here. We have a x-axis and a y-axis. We have an x-axis and the y-axis. So basically what we're doing is the x-axis here has a domain that goes from negative 240 to positive 240. And we have the y-axis that has a range from negative 180 to positive 180. Okay, so what I described in the other video, so let's say I change this to like 60. So basically the coordinates that the cat is at is going to be 60, 0. Okay, but let's just put it back for now. What I want to describe is these motion blocks. So motion blocks. So the two main blocks that are used for motion are these move and turn blocks that you see here, the blue blocks. Okay, so these blocks instruct the sprite to move relative to its location before the block is executed. So what that means is, in other words, so let's say we click on this sprite and we drag it somewhere. Just drag it anywhere. If we have this move block here, if we just click it, every time it's just going to keep moving that the sprite 10 steps forward. Okay, and the same idea goes for the turn blocks. So if I show you the turn block here, if I were to click it, basically the sprite is going to keep turning 15 degrees clockwise, 15 degrees clockwise, as you can see. Okay, so that's just some examples of how the those motion blocks will work. Okay, but let's say for this particular program, we want the cat to always start at a certain position. Like, for example, you want to find a way to like reset your program, right? So let's go ahead. What I'm going to do is I'm going to delete some of these blocks. So a couple ways you can delete. You can right click and you can delete, or you can just drag it on the side. Drag it on the side and it deletes. So what you can do is, so yeah, let's say we want to have the cat start at a certain part. So this block here, it says go to a certain coordinate. So the coordinate point, let's say we want the cat to go to negative 20, comma 0. So what this means is, if I click on it, the cat's going to go to negative 20, comma 0. Okay. Now what we have, so you see this here, this direction here. If I were to just change it, you see, I can change the orientation. Like, it can be at, like, this would be like 0. If I put 0 here, and I could change it to 90, 180, 270. 270 is going to come up as negative 90 in this. Yeah, back to 0. That's just to give you an idea how the orientation works in Scratch. Basically off the degrees of a circle. Geometry! Isn't that cool? But anyway, so that's what I wanted to show you there. And what I want to also put is, you see this here, this block that says point in direction 90. So that's a direction 90 it's going to go. So it's going, so that means the sprite is just going to point in that general direction. Okay. So yeah, so what the thing I wanted to mention is, so there's an event block here. So let's go ahead. This will help us do our reset state, I guess. So let's say I were to click it, like drag the cat anywhere. So if I were to drag this right on top, so what this says is, when the green flag is going to be clicked, that means the cat is going to go back to 20, 0 and point in that direction. So it's going to do that right there. No matter where I drag him, he can always go back to that reset stage. So that would be one way of how to like reset your program, make it go back. Okay. So next thing I want to show you is animations. So animations. So Scratch has a lot of built-in costumes for most of the sprites. So you see here, this is a cat sprite. If you want to change it, you can always change it over there. But what you want to do is if I click the costumes tab, so I have the costumes tab here. So each sprite here, they may have multiple costumes. It just so happens this cat here only has two different types of costumes. But basically, we're gonna use these costumes later, as you can see. Okay, so what we're going to do then, so let's create another event block. So we're gonna create another event block. So we have here. So what this means is when the green flag is clicked, no matter where you are, start back at the original position. Okay. When you get to this part, so it says when the space key is pressed. So that space key is basically based off your laptop or whatever you're using. So something is going to happen if you press the space bar. What we have here is nothing's going to happen right now if we press space because we haven't put anything yet. But let's go ahead and try to put some things. Okay, so what we have is, let's say we want to move the cat a certain amount of steps. So let's say we want to move the cat 10 steps. Okay, so when we press the space bar, then it's going to move it 10 steps. Right, so you can move 10 steps. So what I was getting with this, the costumes part, is we can go to looks here. So looks, there's a couple ways that you can change costumes. So you can use this switch costume or next costume. Basically, if you just click next costume, it's just gonna go from the first one it's gonna say go from costume 1 to costume 2. So move 10 steps, and then it's gonna kind of and then it's gonna change. Yep. So and then you could also just repeat this pattern if you wanted to. So like you could put move another 10 steps, and then change the costume again. Yeah. Now, as you look here, so what we're doing, it's not changing costumes. It's kind of weird. Like you might be thinking like, wait, what's happening? Why is it not changing costumes? Okay. So the reason why for that is because basically when the space bar is being pressed, as you're pressing the space bar, you cannot see the delay between here. Okay. And that's the purpose of this thing called a wait block. So if I go to control, so if I go here, I go to control, and I add this wait in between. Let's say I just put it in between the move, like let's see, right here, wait like 0.3 seconds or something. So then you're gonna see the cat move when I press the space bar. See that? So if I move it back to the green part or the green flag again, that resets it. And when I press the space bar, then it's going to show that after moving 10 steps, I'm going to move to the next costume. So it's going to change costumes. Wait a couple like 0.3 of a second, and then move another 10 steps. So that just gives you a little bit on how that works. So that's how you can get it to work. Or what you want it, or like if let's say this was gone here. If this was gone, basically what's going to happen is when this is green flag is clicked, you can press space multiple times. But the thing is, we're not really animating it. It's just kind of like, oh, it's just going on command. Like, just keep walking if the space bar is pressed. So again, so our goal for this is we want to make the cat move. Yeah, and that's the importance of having this here, if you're wondering. Okay, but anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this video off right here. I'm going to continue from the next video what we can do next to try to get this cat to move a certain amount of steps forward and move back. Okay, I'll see you in the next video. Okay, bye. Hello. Okay, so our goal here again is we want to try to animate this cat to walk on its own. Okay, so what I'm going to show you then is, so what we left off with again is that what we had is no matter where we drag the cat, whenever the green flag is clicked and we press the space bar, it's going to move. Okay, so as we want to create more code for this, like it's just going to repeat the same process over and over. Now, I can totally see some music. We can just use like a loop, right? But let's just do it baby steps first. Let's do it the very long way. So what you could do is, so what I did. Okay, let me show you that one more time. Sorry. So what we're doing is, let's say we want to just repeat this process over and over again. So what we can do is we can right click on what we have here. If we were to right click, we can duplicate this block. Okay. So when we duplicate this block, we're creating a copy of it. So this means at total it's going to move 30 steps. If we do this again and we duplicate, we're going to create a bigger one. It's going to be really big. And what we have here is we can just drag this right here. So what we're going to have is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 steps. Okay, so let's start back. And we see the cat, if we watch it, he's going to go about 50 steps forward, as you can see. Okay, so the next step, what we have to do next is, well, let's say we want to turn this cat around and we have to get it back to its original position. Okay, so what we can do is we can go back to the motion blocks. So the motion blocks here, let's say we were to turn this guy, 180 degrees. Let's go ahead and turn this guy 180 degrees. So we're just kind of flipping him around. So let's try it again. And then we press space bar. And now he turns upside down. Somebody thinking, oh no, he's upside down. What can we do? Okay, so like I showed you in the first video, but only briefly. Now we can do something to fix this. So we have this thing here. So it's called set rotation style, left and right. So what this does is it kind of fixes the orientation. Here. So it would make it it would just face the way it's faced like this here. So let's try again. And then when I face, then it should go back that way. And then we also want to make sure that this is pointed in the opposite direction, right? So instead now it's pointed negative 90 degrees, or in other words, yeah, so back that way. So let's go ahead and run this just to make sure. And as you see, so he's pointed in that direction. So make sure when you have this rotation style, if you set it to all around, it's gonna look like what you saw earlier. But you can also, and then what you can also do is you can also play around with this turn block. Like, what if it's not 180 degrees? Like, what if you tried 155 or 130? What's gonna happen with that? Will that change what you see there? Okay. Now let's just get back to the original question. Here is we need to figure out how to get this cat back, right? So let's say we want to do the same thing. So you know what? I'm just gonna do it again. So let's say we want to wait 0.3 seconds, and we want to move 10 steps, and we want to go to the next costume. So let's just see if that works. And then we press the space bar, and it's coming back. Okay, good. So it's coming back. So what we need to do is we can actually duplicate this block here, because we're just doing this over and over again. So just do it right there, and then duplicate again. It's going to be a massive thing. So let's see, we have right here 10, 20, 30, 40. We need one more. So duplicate. So here we go. And then just ignore what he's doing right now. I'm going to, okay, so green flag is pressed. So when the space bar, he's going to go 50 steps that way. He's going to come around, and he goes 50 steps back. So yeah, that's basically how you can get the cat to walk. Okay. So as you see, what we have here is the code here is, yeah, it's getting longer. And some of you have probably figured out, like, okay, like, yeah, we should probably just use a loop for that, but that's a lesson for a whole different day. Okay, anyway, what I also want to show you is how you can comment on code. So commenting is it's very important to learn how to comment on a program. And so just some definitions based off that the link that I gave you. So program documentation. So program documentation is basically a written description of the function of a code segment, event, procedure, or program, and how it's developed. And comments in general. So comments are a form of program documentation written into the program and to be read by people, but comments do not affect how a program runs. So that's important. Comments do not affect how a program runs. So it's very simple how to add a comment. So if I just right click, let's say I were to right click here, you see here there's an option that says I can add a comment. So if I add a comment, you can just kind of write some nice things about, like, you could say like, well, the green flag sets the cat sprite to the coordinates -20, 0, and points it in a direction. So that's this part here. Points it I can't spell, in a direction based on the degrees of a circle. Yeah. So again, what I said with this comment is, no matter how many comments you put in here, it should not affect your code in the way it runs. It's more information for you and even information for me. So to say like, okay, this is what you're trying to tell me about the program. Like, this is how it runs. Okay. So, and then for this example, let's say we're to right click here. If I add a comment, this one, I can say something like, this is the script to make the cat walk. This is the script to make the cat walk. Yeah. And then I can even put like another comment. You can add a comment that's not even on blocks. So let's say we're to add a comment here. You can just make it simple, like, oh, I'm Mr. Chang. Today's date is September 13, 2020. The title is Cat Walking. Cat goes for a walk. Cat walking. And you can just put something like, this program simulates a cat walking away from its original position and coming back. Okay. So that's just an example of how you can make comments, and the program will still work. Watch. So if I press the green flag, no matter where I press this thing, it's gonna go back to, or drag it, it's gonna go back to its original part. Press the space bar, space bar is being pressed, and the cat goes back to its original position. Okay. So now, if you wanted to, you remember that first video I showed you, like, you go back to that broadcasting program and make comments on what you think your program did. So you could just use that right there, just so you remember. So what I showed you earlier, I didn't show you comments. So it might be good just to be like, oh yeah, well, if I go back to this later, I'm not going to remember what it did. So it's good. Try to make that like good practice. Make sure to go back. Like, okay, well, this line of code did this. This line of code did this, and so forth. Let's make this. We can add some things too. We can add a backdrop later. I'll save that for the next video. It'll be a very short last video. But that is basically it. Okay, see you next video. Bye. Hello. Okay, so this is the last part of the video. So basically where I left off in the other one was, well, what if we wanted to create a backdrop? So if you guys don't remember how to create a backdrop, just make sure this sprite is clicked. And basically what we can do is we can choose a backdrop. So let's go ahead and let's choose this one. Let's choose Malibu. So the cat is in Malibu. Okay, so just to show you, no matter where I drag this thing, this says, well, when the green flag is clicked, it's going to go back to its original position. And when I press the space bar here, then it's going to do all those wonderful things. Okay. So yes, he's just walking on the beach in Malibu. Isn't that so cool? Okay. And when you finish your project, don't forget to press this button that says Save Now. And if you haven't done so already, you see this orange button here. make sure you share your project if you haven't done so already. Okay, so what I want to also show you, if you're wondering, is just basically that same page. So that page that was in the Google form and stepping out, there's everything here that I basically went over. So basically, yeah, position, how position works in Scratch, the two types of motion blocks, how to get it to start at a certain spot. Let me see. Animation using certain costumes. I modified this a little bit, not exactly like this, but it's basically the same thing. And how to basically get the cat back to its original position. And then comments. You see comments here. Basically, I showed you earlier how you can add comments to your code. Okay, so again, what you want to do is you can be creative about this, but your main goal for this particular Google form is you need to get the cat sprite. So let's look at here. So we start with the cat. We need the cat to walk away at least 50 steps from its original position and come back. Make sure to change the costume. So we're changing the costume, as you can see in this code. We're changing the costume, and we're adding wait blocks. So we're adding wait time so you can actually see the animation as shown in the first video. What I was showing you, without those wait blocks, you can't see the individual animations. Yeah, so make sure to add those wait blocks so I can see that the cat is walking. And finally, make sure you add comments. Make sure to add comments to your code. Okay, and that's basically it. Let me know if you have any questions on this. Okay, bye.